Good evening, and welcome to Player Profiler Today with the Podfather coming at you. No Jack Cavanagh. Jack Cavanagh couldn't be with us tonight. It was last minute life circumstance. These things happen, and it's my honor to take Jack Cavanagh's place tonight and talk to the people about fantasy football, the NFL, Player Profiler, all things fantasy drafts that are happening right now, startups that are happening right now. I'm in a startup right now with Alan Sislowski, and it is Kentucky Derby style. And I just got a text from Alan. He said that you have the fourth pick. You had to pick your spot. So I assumed I'm going to get the fourth pick overall, right? But because it's third round reversal, TRR is what Alan said. So Alan's like, well, it's not necessarily a slam dunk that you want to go with the 101 because it's TRR. And I was like, Alan, what the hell's TRR mean? So Alan just assumes that I'm one of these volume drafters. Spoiler alert, everybody, I'm not a volume drafter. I am a deep thinker about fantasy football. I am cerebral. I am not necessarily a big giant drafter. That's not me. Alan, though, volume drafter. Theo, volume drafter. That's why Player Profilers, Sonic Truth, Dynasty program, the signature Dynasty podcast in the whole industry, live tomorrow, 11 a.m. That show, those guys are killers. These guys draft a lot. So he said, here are the picks that are available. And for some reason, someone took the 101, which made sense. Then someone took the 112 because of the TRR, right? And then the third guy took the third pick, which made some sense to me because I was considering the 103 as well. I wanted the 102 or the 103. The 103 ideally being Jalen Hurts, but you're hoping that the guy ahead of you takes Josh Allen, then you can get Jalen Hurts. But the 102 is the best because then you get to lock in Jalen Hurts. You know it's Jalen Hurts unless someone tries to do something crazy and take Jalen Hurts at the 101, and in which case I get Patrick Mahomes, which is also great. Also great. But I am convinced, as many of you know, that Jalen Hurts is the new Tom Brady in the NFL, that he is at a higher level of dedication to the profession. He is the peak. He is the mountaintop. No one's more dedicated. That his father was a coach, and that he has the gravitas in the locker room unlike any other quarterback in the sport, going all the way back to Tom Brady. That's where you got to go back. Tom Brady, Patriots Tom Brady. You got to go back there where, remember, they had the fire hose cannon. They had the cannon that was attached to the fire truck, and they would back the fire truck up into practice in Foxborough, and they would spray Tom with the fire hose to try to replicate the rainy, stormy conditions. And then after practice, he would take the hose and he would just take snaps, and he would, guys would stay after practice with him, and they would just hit him with the hose. And he's just at another level of dog. That's who I believe Jalen Hurts is, to the point where they're willing to just bring in anybody. They're willing to bring in any troubled soul, anyone that's had intersections with law enforcement. They do not care. They do not care because he carries the culture. Jalen Hurts carries the culture of that locker room unlike any other. And the fact that he's mobile, at least now, and he's got a linebacker build, so he's gonna be mobile for at least the next 5 years. The guy's going to be scrambling for first downs, scrambling for touchdowns. So you get, for your entire dynasty window, you get a super mobile quarterback on a Super Bowl contender who is going to be competing for the MVP year in, year out. And actually, I think he's going to last longer in the league than Patrick Mahomes. So I think there's a real argument to be made that it's actually Jalen Hurts, the 101 in Superflex, Jalen Hurts, the best quarterback for fantasy football, in seasonal leagues, for Dynasty, everything. It's very close right now in our Dynasty rankings on Player Profiler. Dynasty Deluxe, check it out. You can see Mahomes is there, but Hurts is right there. And then we've got, it's so close. You're not allowed to be surprised. If you look up in a couple weeks and, there's Hurts at the 101, just some micro movement happens because of an additional weapon or some news in camp about a more up-tempo offense. It's all it takes. It's just a slightest little tweak. And then the machine will just take a shred of an opportunity, and then you extrapolate that out over a couple years, and then before you know it, boom, Hurts moves ahead of Patrick Mahomes. And what I love about our Superflex rankings is that these top quarterbacks are so far and above the rest that it would take like 2 CeeDee Lambs just to get to a quarterback. Like the idea that you would opt for the 112, the 111, I get the third round reversal, but I mean, oh my God, like that you would have to compromise and have to go with a player that's actually half the value, right? By the end of the first round of a Superflex draft, the values have been cut in half compared to Mahomes and Hurts and Allen, yes, but I believe that based on the fading of Josh Allen that we saw and the fact that he started his career with 2 inefficient seasons, he was inefficient in college, he has no receiver of consequence that can help him at all, except that one game with 4 touchdowns behind Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs needs to stay healthy. It's a fragile wide receiver core in Buffalo. So I think that there's some risk with Josh Allen. So I think you look up, you're going to see Hurts moving up, Allen moving down the dynasty rankings over the next couple weeks and months. I just look out for that. That's something I can see happening, especially if there are any injuries at all in camp to the Buffalo wide receiver core. So fragile. And it's the opposite in Philadelphia. It's just, the rich get richer with Philadelphia. It seems like, but they got Dalton Kincaid. Okay. All right. Whew. So that's that. And then the other thing that I can tell you is happening, and you can look out for it. And this is news. This is Player Profiler news. Talking about Player Profiler today, like with the news you need. Oh, baby, I got that. I got news you need. We need breaking news. Jamar Chase is the 101 in fantasy drafts. Like single quarterback draft, I'm going Jamar Chase 101. I'm going Jamar Chase over Justin Jefferson. You look at our rankings, you're going to start to see Jamar Chase over Justin Jefferson. I did my draft kit video, the world famous draft kit. The full kit is about to be released. Theo Greminger is quarterbacking it. It's incredible. I worked on Bateman. I worked on Chase this weekend. And little known fact, Justin Jefferson actually did not have the most expected fantasy points per game last year. It was Jamar Chase. It was actually Jamar Chase with more expected fantasy points per game. Everybody knows the Vikings were lucky last year. Everybody knows. The most lucky franchise, the luckiest team. They outperformed their point differential by a wide margin in the standings. It was just a lucky season, and yet they could only parlay that into a playoff berth and then fart, right? Goodbye. That's the Vikings last year. But they're not going to be that lucky this year. And not only was Kirk Cousins lucky last year, the defense was lucky, everyone was lucky, the offensive line was decimated with injuries, the whole team was lucky. So was Justin Jefferson, actually. The expected fantasy point shows that Justin Jefferson was actually lucky. Jamar Chase was not. Jamar Chase actually had less fantasy points per game than his expected fantasy points per game. Justin Jefferson had like 2+ more fantasy points per game actually than his expected was suggested that he had. And our expected fantasy points per game is super sophisticated. It looks at air yards and catchable passes, and it's great. So, going into his third year with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. So they're getting the band back together from LSU, except there's no Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson's looking up going, hey, you got Joe Burrow at quarterback. Must be nice. I got Kirk Cousins, right? It's just not going to be the same. And then what did the Vikings do? They drafted a wide receiver in the first round. It's going to siphon some targets away from Justin Jefferson. Jordan Addison will siphon some. It just takes a couple targets. These guys are so razor-thin close. It just takes a couple targets. That's all it takes. Both shootout divisions, right? AFC North, NFC North, where the offenses are better than the defenses. It's exciting, man. It's super exciting, but just like the year prior, it doesn't pay, right? It doesn't pay to just draft the guy that was number one last year. It's who's going to be number one this year. Right, that's why last year we were going Justin Jefferson over Cooper Kupp because of the target share and air yards math and everything that we looked at. Billy Muzio pounding the table for Justin Jefferson, and I'm talking to Theo, I'm talking to Dario, I'm talking to Billy, and I'm like, guys, it looks like Jamar Chase is teed up to be the 101, the guy we want. I mean, you could make an argument for Christian McCaffrey. You want to go Christian McCaffrey? Please, do you. If you're a Christian McCaffrey guy, I'm not gonna stand in your way, right? I'm not gonna block the door. You want to go McCaffrey? YOLO, baby, YOLO. McCaffrey, go, right? I mean, chase the rainbow, please. But that's not how we play the game, right? You get a chance for a guy that's gonna go 24 fantasy points per game. It's like, oh, what about T. Higgins? What about T. Higgins? Yeah, well, T. Higgins could miss games. Right? T. Higgins misses any games. I mean, it's going to be 30 points a game in all those games for Jamar Chase. And even if he doesn't miss, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. T. Higgins is a pumped up alpha. T. Higgins, I'm watching Chimp Empire. And what's fascinating about Chimp Empire is the alphas in the chimp world, they are not the biggest dudes. The betas are the biggest dudes. This was a surprise to me. The alphas are strong, but also great at politics. And they befriend the biggest goon there is to be their number two. It's like the mafia. That's why they call it Chimp Empire. It's like Boardwalk Empire, but it's like the chimps. And they're just very cutthroat about how they do things, these chimps. I mean, they're ripping monkeys' heads off. They're, fighting over territory, killing each other. It's amazing. It's amazing. But the politics is amazing. The politics is why you watch Chimp Empire. You might think it's for the fights. It's not the fights. The fights are actually really sad because they're so close to humans. It's the politics. That's why you watch it. And T. Higgins is like the number two on that show. Like, he's the biggest dude out there. He's the biggest dude in the wide receiver core. But he's not the actual alpha. The actual alpha is the guy who's like a little bit bigger than average size, right? But super cunning, incredibly hard worker. That's the thing, man. Some of this show's like, oh my God, like this is wild how close to humans this is. These alphas, they are outworking everybody. They are cunning. They are nice to the ladies. They're nice to their underlings. They're cool with them. They're bros. It's like, man, this is like leadership. You could take a class on this. This is insane. And I was bothered by the fact that in my draft kit video, I was not able to go and go back and edit because I had the right time. It was a very tight, very well done video, of course, but it just didn't make sense for me to go back and edit it and add a part that I thought was important. Go to the Jamar Chase player page and you will see something interesting. What's interesting about the Jamar Chase player page is that he has all the workouts. You have to understand, if you go back in time and remember what it was like, it was COVID. He didn't play he could have just showed up at the draft and been top 10 like Drake London without any workouts. It wouldn't have mattered, right? We knew he was top 10. He outproduced Justin Jefferson the year prior when they played together. Of course he's top 10. Justin Jefferson had already broken out. He didn't have to do anything. He could have sat on his couch, tuned in, watched himself go top 10, wearing a ski mask if he wanted to, right? He could have done that. You know what Ja'Marr Chase did during that time, during lockdown? He went to Texas, and he was working out in a sort of high-performance facility with Rondale Moore, and they were going ham. And they were a couple other high-achieving wide receivers that were there with them and some cornerbacks. And he just outworked everyone. And then at his pro day, if you recall, he even did the agility drills. And a lot of these wide receivers, they don't care about the agility drills. They're not there to do it. You see a lot of these guys not doing the agility drills anymore. Ja'Marr Chase did everything. He's like, I'm running the 40. And their agent's like, you don't have to do this. You certainly shouldn't be doing the shuttle and the 3-cone. You're going to get hurt. What if you get hurt? Then there's questions. Then you want to fall out of the top 10? Get hurt running the 3-cone. That's the best way to do it. You want to, and he's like, I don't care. He is a dog rating through the scale. Okay, that's Ja'Marr Chase. Okay, but Justin Jefferson, his teammate, also a very high dog rating. I mean, that's why these guys are 1-2. But so often we talk about the electricity that Ja'Marr Chase brings to the football field. But it starts with him in the weight room. It starts with him not just in the weight room, though, with that mentality that he just wants to win and he just wants to be better than everyone else. He just wants to eat your lunch. He wants to have sex with your women. He wants to eat your food. He wants to kill your monkeys. He's the alpha, man. And I think he's the alpha for fantasy football. And it's going to be fascinating to watch his Hall of Fame career play out, because it could be something really special. The way he's wired and his body type being the way it is, where he's 6'2", just the ideal body type that you want for to play the wide receiver position with longevity. We've seen these guys that are 6'3", 6'4", they can't play past age 31. But if you have that, Reggie Wayne, Larry Fitzgerald body type, Jerry Rice being the best example, with the Jerry Rice off-field mentality, that's how you can play out to age 35, age 36. And then in today's NFL, Ja'Marr Chase could actually break some records. It could be really interesting. It could be really interesting to see how yes, and Harry Siegel writes, where does Ronald Jones fit into all this? That's a clever remark, Harry. Wow, buddy. Bald Harry. Is he trying to compete with Harry Snowman? Is he competing with Harry Snowman for dumb comment? Where does Ronald Jones? Ronald Jones, low dog rating. I don't think that Ronald Jones is about that life. I think that was very clear. You've got to be about that life. And it's interesting that I am that guy now. Like I said, we started the conversation with expected fantasy points. So clearly I care about metrics, but also care about how guys interview, how guys carry themselves, how much are guys in the weight room. And by caring about that kind of stuff, you can avoid some of these Ronald Jones debacles. You can avoid some of these Clyde Edwards-Helaire debacles. And now, unfortunately, DeAndre Swift. There were whispers about this with DeAndre Swift for years. And all you had to do was watch Hard Knocks. And it was very clear that he was not wired in a way that the Detroit Lions appreciated at all, right? And it didn't matter, right? Didn't matter. I was still bullish on him. It wasn't like I'm not going to fade a guy into oblivion because he's known to not work out behind the scenes. That's not something that, we're not that crazy. That's not how you do it. But when we're talking about like micro edges, we're talking about tiebreakers, right? Then it starts to matter. Because you have these guys that are incredibly talented, and time again, when you see the guys with the best metrics-based profiles, and you wonder what happened to player X, eventually the whispers come out that they just weren't about that life. And unfortunately, with football, that's what matters most. That matters more than basketball. That matters more than with baseball. You could be 100% analytics focused and win the day with baseball, basketball. But the reason why I love the NFL so much is that it's not that easily solved. That there's this whole other human component that is actually a big deal and can drive outcomes where you can see a DeAndre Swift start getting flushed out of the league. And you're like, this guy was a phenomenal prospect. This guy is one of the most efficient players at the position as both a runner and a receiver. And yet they're punting him for a late round pick. This can't be true. How is this happening? It's what happens. And so that's what makes the NFL interesting. That's what keeps us coming back. That's what keeps us guessing. Because it really does keep us guessing. And you're going to be wrong a lot because you just don't quite know how these guys are wired. Had we been at the Combine and we've been at the Senior Bowl, like Roster Watch was, when Cooper Kupp was there, I would have had more intel on Cooper Kupp and would not have been so quick to put him behind Corey Davis, Juju Smith-Schuster. The NFL drafted him in the third round. The NFL took John Ross. Thankfully, I don't think this would happen. I don't think this would happen again. You saw Jordan Addison's not an athletic marvel by any means. They took him in the first round. So I think that now the NFL would not have drafted John Ross at 10 and Cooper Kupp in the third round. No way. No way. No. Not possible. No. So now I will give everyone a sneak preview. I'm going to be covering this in more depth on the Backstage Pass, patreon.com/podfather. I'm going to do a Backstage Pass and give you a little bit of insight into this draft that I'm in. But we should check this out now, which is this is the big game draft. I talked about this on the I think it was the Sonic Truth show. The last Sonic Truth show, we covered this. And this is the big startup. This is the big Superflex tight end super premium startup. Notice that though it's tight end super premium, Andrews did not go until looks like the last pick in the third round. Wow, right? Mark Kelsey goes to the 302. Pitts goes to the 402. That was probably early for Pitts. Can I? How is it possible? How is it possible that the three darlings of the draft hype community, and a lot of these are metrics-based individuals, analytics-focused individuals. I love them dearly. Three of the darlings end up on the same abysmal offense. It's shocking, right? With Desmond Ridder under center. How the hell is Kyle Pitts and Drake London and Bijan Robinson supposed to get there in the Atlanta offense with an overrated coach, a third-round nothing quarterback? It's terrifying. It's terrifying. How can you draft Kyle Pitts? How can you draft Drake London? How can you draft Bijan Robinson at ADP? I was talking to Billy about this. I was like, is anyone drafting Falcons at all? He's like, I'm never drafting Falcons. I can't do it. The math doesn't add up. Talking to Dario, the math doesn't add up. Where people are drafting Falcons is hilarious because it's only going to work. The guy you draft, if he's a Falcon, and I mean, God help you if you draft multiple Falcons. But if you did draft one of these Falcon skill guys, be it Pitts, be it London, be it Bijan, the other guys have to all get hurt for that guy to get there. And he's not going to get there. Like, he's not. Spoiler alert. None of these Falcons are going to get there. Maybe, at cost, at ADP, the one guy I'm drafting who I can see getting there is Matt Collins. Because Matt Collins is like 20th round pick. He's a starter. He's one of the last starters that you'll be able to get. If you're just getting a starter, yeah, Matt Collins. I'd much rather have Matt Collins at cost than Drake London. What do you think is going to happen? This low pass volume, no passes thrown, right? It's like, oh, Bijan's going to catch all these passes. What passes? What passes? Bijan Robinson went to a team that will guarantee high volume between the 20s, lowest value touches for a running back. And I'm seeing him go top 5. This is silly. It's just nonsense. The Bijan ADP, nonsense. London ADP, nonsense. The Kyle Pitts ADP, nonsensical. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. Okay, back to this draft. So I took Burrow, and then Murray. When you take Murray, you basically lock yourself into a productive struggle. And then I took Gibbs. I don't love Gibbs. I think Gibbs is a bust candidate, but I drafted him because I need some Gibbs, and this is the perfect time to get Gibbs. Walker went ahead of him. Barkley went ahead of him, so I grabbed him. Walker actually went where he should go in this draft. So I stopped the bleeding on Gibbs. I think if Gibbs has a breakout year, a big year, it's going to be in his second year. So that's I decided when I drafted Murray, okay, I'm competing in 2024. It's going to be a productive struggle. Goddard here at 509 in tight end super premium. It's a 0.75 bonus PPR for tight ends. DJ Moore, I don't love him this year, but I think next year things could consolidate for him. Pickett at the 709 is a screaming value. We've talked about Pickett on a bunch of shows, how the offensive line improved, solid weapons, shootout division, over Trey Lance, over Will Levis is a slam dunk. I mean, think about Will Levis. Will Levis is a lesser prospect on a less efficient, less prolific offense, and he was drafted later. And he's not going to be the starter on day one. What? Like, it doesn't make sense. I think he's older than Kenny Pickett, or he's similar age to Kenny Pickett. No, I think Kenny Pickett's still older because Kenny Pickett was also an old prospect. But Kenny Pickett was an old prospect because of COVID. He wasn't an old prospect because he had to transfer and couldn't play. Michael Mayer, tight end super premium. Love it. After Josh Doxson, hello. What? Right? I think he'll outscore Dotson even without. I almost called him Doxson because, Washington. He'll outscore him even without the premium. Kendre Miller, he'll have his best year in year 2 probably. Dulcich has, target monster. Mims, then Roshan. I traded that pick for Roshan. I was fortunate to get Mooney. I think that's nice to have Mooney and Moore because what happens is Mooney moves on and then Moore gets the benefit of the target consolidation. Mooney gets to get unlocked somewhere else. Gainwell's interesting. I think Swift's going to be a free agent, so then Gainwell potentially gets the backfield to himself next year. Peoples-Jones, we'd start a ton of receivers. Hall, Wilson. And I should make a pick. Oh, Jack Cavanagh. This is not professional, me coughing. Let's make a pick. Terrace Marshall, Chuba Hubbard. Miles Sanders, really? That's what we're worried about, Miles Sanders? And Chuba Hubbard, by the way, he was a fourth-round pick, 2,000-yard rusher at Oklahoma State, and then he has shown himself, especially last year, as a quality receiver. I'm happy to get Chuba Hubbard. Let's go ahead and pick him. With the, how do you pick players? Can I pick him? Hit the plus sign? Do I hit the plus sign to pick him? Let's try it. On the count of 3. 3, 2, 1. Oh, we got him! We got Chuba! Woo! That's it. That's the draft. That's the draft board. Enjoy. I enjoyed my time today, filling in for Jack. He'll be back soon. We love Jack Cavanagh. Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.